Welcome to our LinkedIn Live program today with a special guest, MariAnne Vanella. She is the founder and CEO of the Vanella Group. Hi, MariAnne.
Hi, so great to be here.
Well, you're one of the speakers at our Sales 3.0 conference. It's an AI summit. And the reason we invited you is because we want to hear your views on how to balance technology with humanity. What is your take on the AI, first of all?
I think it's super interesting. The thing is AI has been around for quite a while, so it's nothing new. Generative AI is new, and that kind of got a lot of people to start paying attention to it, where before it was kind of more with the data scientists, but now it's more on the front line. So I think organizations are figuring out on the sales front how they can use it in operationally in the sales organization. So I hear a lot of different things companies are using, and there's a ton of apps. And so I think in a lot of ways it can be super helpful to help with communication. So it's certainly not going to replace anything. I know there's been this discussion that AI is going to take jobs, and it's not. I mean, maybe like super low level transactional stuff, but enterprise sales, you've got to have that person involved in being able to orchestrate that sales cycle.
So what is your you did some research and you looked at the numbers.
Yeah.
Do you think that AI is something that is a passing fad, or it's ubiquitous? Do people accept it and embrace it, or what's your practical experience?
Yeah, I don't think it's a passing fad, but I do think that it hasn't landed where it's going to be yet, because every day you hear new things like ChatGPT just did this and now you can do that, and there's all these apps, and there's tons of apps that kind of essentially do the same thing. So you've got to figure out like what you're going to use, because you can't roll out like 10 different things to your front line. Right. You've got to have something that is effective. One of the things about that, and if you're but AI, like deep learning AI, one of the things, and back to the thing about the polling that I did, I was asking people in 3 different places. So I was asking, are they using chat or OpenAI or any generative AI in their work? So are they using it? Is it not allowed? Is it allowed with some restrictions, or their company's just not even aware? So the biggest population were answers around they're not allowed to use it. So there's still a lot of resistance, and that comes into privacy issues, because where does the data live? Like, are you providing training data? That's proprietary data. Right. But organizations can always put a private instance of it up. They just have to work that out so that their information isn't going into training data where really sensitive customer information is. Another thing that I see that organizations, I do think that AI is going to give us a lot more insight. I mean, you can even look at applications like Gong or Chorus and stuff like that. I mean, and people are getting a lot of insight from just applying AI to what they're doing already. But I do think that there's, your foundation is your data. So for any kind of effective and accurate training data that you're going to put into your AI environment, you can't build a model with a bunch of messed up data. And so when you look in CRMs at a lot of these companies, it's like, the Wild West in there. Like, everybody's doing something different, and some people use it and some people don't. And, it's like some people have these notes in there that are kind of like really cryptic, and then other people have really good notes. And so, you're not going to be able to get a consistent model if you don't have some governance over, okay, how do we use this stuff? So even just now, as organizations are planning and maybe looking at the future of AI, they really need to get in a place now where they're thinking of that just from a data management standpoint. And also cleaning up their list. Like one of the things that I see a lot of times, like organizations will look at their house list. And this happens more, I would say, with startups, where they've got a house list, and then you look at the list, and 2/3 of the people on the list are people that would not be a viable prospect under the best of circumstances. So that kind of stuff being in your database, it's like that's not going to help either to give you any kind of accurate views, because you might do email campaigns to them. Maybe they're opening them or whatever, and then you get all excited about it, and it's like, having a barista at the coffee bar in your office isn't, going to help you get any kind of insight about, the appetite for what you guys are doing. So, it's just really important to make sure that you have clean data.
It makes a lot of sense, but there are also new AI tools where you get automatic data updates without you even knowing it.
Right.
Where to go and correct your email, where to go and correct your mobile number, and those are useful tools. But you bring up an interesting point, which is governance. That those companies that tell their sales team that they're not allowed to use it, they're still thinking about the guardrails that need to be in place,
right,
in order to use it responsibly. And you told me something before we started, which is that AI is not a tool that creates empathy for the customer. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah, that example.
Right.
So, and this is not unique to this company. I have a ton of companies calling to sell me stuff, and I get all kinds of outreach, and I don't really unsubscribe to a lot of things unless they're like totally horrible. But I mean, it's like, I want to see what people are doing. And I was on Twitter/X, and I saw an ad for an AI app. And I thought, oh, cool, this looks kind of interesting. So it said you can sign up for a pilot and do X amount of models with it or whatever. So I downloaded or I went to the site, and I went through about 6 pages. And then it says, oh, we can't do this on your mobile. You're going to have to move over to your desktop. We're going to send you a text. I'm like, all right, so I wasn't even in front of my desk at the time. So I thought, okay, I'll do it later. So that's a major break right there.
Right.
And, so I don't know if marketing on mobile is the best idea if that's the case, because a lot of people aren't at their desk. So I get it, I'm driving, and about 5 minutes later, I see the same number coming up a bunch of times. And so I answer it, and it's this company. And, they got a sales guy, and he's asking me all these questions about what I want to do with it and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't even looked at it. I mean, I thought your ad looked kind of interesting, and I thought I'll check it out. And he's all, oh, well, do you think you're going to do this or that? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, really, I don't know. So he was actually a really nice guy. And I was asking him, what do you see when you get an email that somebody signed up? And I said, do I come over like a lead in Salesforce or something? I was trying to figure out, like, what do they see? And it's actually they don't use Salesforce. It comes over in some format of, just a blurb that, hey, so-and-so signed up, and it's got the information that I put in there basically, which is almost nothing. And so he doesn't know anything. So total blind call on their side too. So I said, give me a week to mess around with this thing, and I'll let you know. So we hang up, and then my phone starts blowing up again with the same number. And I thought, oh, maybe he needs to tell me something. So I answer, and it's another guy. And he starts the same conversation again. And I said, hey, I just had this conversation with somebody. And he goes, oh, I don't see it in here. And I'm like, I did. And we're going to talk next week. And he goes, oh, okay. So then he starts all the same questions again. I'm like, really? I just had this conversation. So then we hang up. And then about, 20 minutes later, I get a text that says, hey, do you want to be an agency reseller for us? And I'm like, I haven't even looked at it yet, right? I've talked to you guys more than anything, So then there's that. And then I get a couple more texts over that same day. And then at 5:00 in the morning, I get a text from them about being there. Do you want to be an agency partner? It's like, I got my notifications off, but still, it's like, okay, do you not even know what time zone you're marketing in? So then, I get a call from a robot from them, and it's, trying to show me how great they are. And so then I hang up, then I get a text from the first guy that I talked to, and he and he says, "Hey, I know we were going to follow up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." So I call back the number, and it goes to a dead number. So I just hang up, and then I get a call back. It says, "Hey, we're the agency partner people. I saw that you called this number." I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, you guys have the absolute worst frontline customer experience. I haven't even looked at the thing, and I've had, 10 different interactions from you guys." And you used a funny term. You said it's like they carpet bomb me, right? And they did. And so that's not unusual, because I know there's some websites, and there's a couple of them that as soon as you get on their site, somebody will call you. And people don't like that. Nobody wants to feel like they've got to dodge a phone call just because they look at something. So, and especially if it happens repeatedly, because a lot of times you might know this company, the company might know you, but every time somebody hits the site, it queues up, somebody on their front lines to call you, or worse, it just goes into an auto dialer and just starts dialing. So, that's not the kind of thing that you want a B2B experience to be.
So how did you feel about it?
Oh, it was so annoying, right? I mean, I just felt like I not only was I was just neutral to it originally. Like I thought, I'll look at this thing, but now I thought, this is like so awful, right? So now I'm kind of mad. So how are they gonna undo my experience, my feeling about my experience? So yeah, I still haven't talked to anybody. I actually emailed their COO, and I said, "Hey, I downloaded your platform, and I wanted to check it out. I wanted to ask if you wanted some feedback about what the experience was." And, nothing, crickets. And I also noticed that, I mean, you can tell things by looking at their LinkedIn team and stuff that, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where these guys go, because I think the platform's actually pretty cool, but I'm not sure where it's going to end up, the way that they're running their frontline sales.
I think it's a great example where customer engagement leads to enragement.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Well, that's totally against what you practice and what you teach. And I'm glad you shared the story, because it brings up a very, very important lesson, is that not only AI is not capable of reading emotions,
Right.
there's a shortfall. But the other thing is that a lot of those AI companies, those that create good-looking tools, they're still immature in their sales approach, and they think that everything can be engineered, and
Right.
that's where you come in, because you teach people how to balance humanity with technology.
Right. Yeah, and one of the things I find, and Mark made a comment about being carpet bombed via text. I get that all the time. And it's like one little list that you get on, and then they're just like blowing you up, asking all these ridiculous things. And that's something that I see growing more and more. And also, it's kind of funny, because once GDPR came into play, it's like my email volume doubled. So it's like the law that's supposed to suppress that is actually accelerated it. But yeah, the thing that, like, especially in large enterprise, if you're gonna be involved in that type of sales environment, like, how would you feel a robot calling you? I mean, nobody wants to talk to a robot, right? Like, if you're some, the C-level executive or VP or whatever at some large manufacturing company, getting called by a robot, it's like, just hang up, right? So it's not something that people are going to respond to. And, one of the things that organizations are going to have to invest in right now is just better frontline experiences, because and this has been going on forever, of organizations put their most junior people on the front lines. So the call that you're putting out as a first touch to executives and your prospects are the least experienced, least technical and business fluent, But that's who they're putting on the front line. And I know I knew somebody once that was talking about this, and they said, "Oh, anybody can pitch, Mary." And I thought, okay, because that's how people think, right?
Right.
And they think anybody can pitch, but really, can anybody just call a CXO and get them to stop what they're doing and talk to you for 10 or 15 minutes? That's not an anybody type of exchange. And the other thing that happens that I see a lot is the whole goal is to get a meeting. So you call somebody a bunch of times and email them and do all this stuff to get them on the phone, just to ask them to get on the phone again. It's like, why don't you talk to them while you have them on the phone? Get as much information as possible, and also help build up their appetite to want to talk to you more, because that's really important. It's got to be a peer level experience that there's not sales resistance. Like when when people get a call that's not a good use of their time, they're just going to push back on that.
Right.
And I've said this, and I've even said this before to you over the years. It's like, it's not that people don't take calls, they just don't take bad calls. So people still take calls. And I do notice a lot of sales teams have moved away from calls and also moved back into doing a lot of messages via email or LinkedIn or something like that. But a thing to remember is during COVID, that kind of level set everything, because
Absolutely.
it's like, I think COVID actually improved the sales landscape because people became more accessible. Calling their cell phones became more normal. Everybody was stressed out and they're working, some people work great remotely, other people, it was a big struggle. And so it really just helped humanize everything a lot more. So it actually improved the environment for phone calls. So
absolutely. And I'm glad that you're joining the Sales 3.0 lineup of keynote speakers. And for anybody who wants to get a free ticket, scan that QR code now, and you get free access. It's a very special. We normally charge $99, but today it's Veterans Day. You can get free access to the conference. And here, MariAnne, drop them and give us a couple of ideas that you were planning to share at the event.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about is how you prepare for making calls, because just dialing, and a lot of times organizations will wait until they find if something's going on before they actually research the organization. And which is kind of how organizations are structured. You got your frontline people that are just calling everybody and trying to get appointments to see if something's going on in there. But really, you need to flip that model. You need to have very senior people on the front lines that can navigate and break through all the noise that prospects have today. Yeah. I mean, all the calls and texts and emails and all this stuff. So that's going to be really important. And how you can leverage technology to deliver a better experience. How you can actually use tools that improve your engagement, that creates a good cadence, and what your frequency should be. So I'll talk about a lot of the interaction that happens and how to maximize that, like how to have a phone call where people actually want to talk to you. And so that's another thing that I really want to talk about, because as technology is becoming a bigger topic in sales, the conversations also need to really improve to match what's happening just from a technology standpoint.
It's really fascinating what you just said is you want to break through the noise.
Yeah.
But when you do it like in the earlier example that you cited, the company's marketing has turned into a noise machine.
Yeah.
And you want to turn this off because you want to have conversations at the same level as you are, and meet with a trusted advisor that can guide you.
Yeah.
So you can explore together whether this is a good solution, whether it's a good fit.
Exactly. And that can be a first call. So it doesn't have to be this bad call and trying to get a person to get interested. Like I talked to this one company a few years back. They had to schedule 600 meetings to get 30 deals. And that was because they had this whole churn and burn approach to meetings. So they would schedule meetings with people that didn't really want a meeting. So a lot of those would fall apart, and people get busy. I mean, a sales call is not going to be a priority if you got some sort of fire going on in your organization. So how do you make sure that a meeting is the right thing? And how to identify where organizations are in their buy cycles? Because it's not all about a meeting. And so that's really what needs to be considered on the front lines, is how do you gain enough information so that you can put them in the right path, put them on the right path of follow-ups and conversations and all these things. So there's a lot that leaders need to do to look at what's happening on the front lines. There's a lot of blind spots out there, and looking in your CRM or kind of running reports, that's not really telling you what's actually happening, because there's a lot of inconsistencies on the front lines. And so I want to give some insight how companies can do that and how they can capture all that, all the information out there that are trigger events for them to be able to engage in a sales cycle that just gets totally missed many times.
That's wonderful. And you have so many amazing clients that come back to you year after year, and the companies that you help, like B2B SaaS companies, they really rely on you to grow further by engaging with clients in a more intelligent and more humane way, but leveraging technology as part of their strategy.
Yeah, I mean, we have an excellent tech stack. I'm always looking at what we need to add, but the bulk of what we do is have conversations. So being able to call somebody and identify those sales cycles. And the thing is there's a predictability to it that, once you put that structure around it, you can predict what the outcome is going to be very consistently. So I've ran programs, lead gen programs that we've been doing for 5 years that were always in that same range. So there's not a lot of change, and there's not because people don't change. It's like people always respond to the things that are the right actions. So when you do the right thing, you get a response. So it's not like the human race is completely changed and they don't take phone calls. It's just you have to be that phone call that they will take. Right. And that's the difference. I saw Mark here. He commented that when you call some organizations, you interact with the robot. I totally hate that. And it's like one of the things that and I'll give you a tip about that, is there's a lot of ways that you can get direct dials, but also in your CRM, if you call into one of those, learn what their voice tree is, learn what what the directory is, so that you don't have to figure it out every time. So if you're trying to reach an executive at FedEx and you call, you hit pound, you hit 4, you hit 3, you do this, and then you're at your person. So you got to write all that down, because a lot of times it's just starting at 0 every time, and you don't need to do that. You could save a lot of time just by capturing all that.
Absolutely. Again, I want you to scan that QR code now and join us. It's going to be an amazing event with the best speakers ever, because we have speakers, not just the great MariAnne Vanella, but also people from McKinsey & Company, from Forrester, from Deloitte Digital. You're going to take tons of notes, and I guarantee you're going to be so surprised, because there are also technologies that are mind-blowing, that are pleasant to deal with, that really can help you move the needle forward. So thank you, MariAnne, for joining us.
Thanks.
I'm very excited. And I see you live in December 6th and 7th.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, everybody.